Yeah.
Yeah. I told you I would know all your names by the end. Yes. Yeah. It's a family. It's really fun. And the sad part is then you go off, and some of you will never see again, and that's sad. But thank you for sharing. Yeah, you can't tell I'm an emotional guy. I mean, just read the books, all right? So, but thanks for sharing Italy with us. This has been a really amazing adventure, and it's been a lot of fun. One of the things that Carrie thought I should bring up and talk to you about are the Christmas box angel statues. And Rita just brought up a picture of the angel statue just outside St. Louis. The angel statues were in some ways they're just as important to me as the books and the charity that we built in the Christmas box house. And in some ways even more. The angel statues have a life of their own, just like the book did. The original angel statue, for those who haven't read the Christmas box, it's a statue where a woman who has lost a children goes to grieve her lost child. The way I discovered it is I had been assigned by my church to visit an elderly widow on the street across from mine. And so I would go over and visit with her, and I really didn't like it. She didn't really care much for me, and I was just bored. That's probably why she didn't care much. She would just go over there and kind of sit there and to just talk a little bit. I would just count the minutes so I could leave. And then one day something happened. It was Christmas Eve, and I thought, well, I better go over and see Leah. And I went over to her house, and it was Carrie's dad was getting the Italian party ready over at his house, and I said, I'll just take Jenna. We'll go over and drop off some bread that she had made with Leah, and just say Merry Christmas, and then come and we'll meet you. So we go over to her house, and all the lights are off. And I said, well, Jenna, it doesn't look like she's home, but let's just go up. And we go up and we knock on the door, and we knock on it again. All of a sudden we hear this slow walking in the cane as she came close, and all the locks open up. She opened up, and she was there, and she was all alone on Christmas Eve. She was wearing a robe, and I said, we just came to wish you Merry Christmas. We brought you some bread, and I gave it to her, and I said, are you doing anything tonight? And she goes, oh yes. She said, my son's coming to get me. I said, he's coming? It's like, yeah, he's coming to get me, and I'm going to have Christmas Eve with the family. And I said, well, that's nice. And so we said goodbye, and she shut the door, and we hear all the locks go up again. And Jen and I just stood there for a moment, and I turned to Jen, was just a little girl, and I said, I don't think she's going anywhere for Christmas, do you? She goes, nope. I think she's staying home alone. And I said, I think I think she needs a place to go. And so I knocked on the door again. It took her like 5 minutes. Then all the locks open up. And I said, you know what, Leah? The one thing that I knew Leah was really proud of is that she had one of those old-fashioned player pianos with all those rolls. And I said, you know what, Leah? Jenna has never seen a player piano before. Do you have any Christmas songs? And she goes, yes, I do. I said, I know your son's coming and you're busy, but do you think you could play him? Just play one for us? So we go inside for the next 45 minutes. We sang I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas and Silver Bells, and she played all their Christmas. She'd take out these paper rolls and put them in, and they would play. And it was really obvious that no one was coming for it. And I thought, well, Carrie's probably going crazy because we've been here 45 minutes. We're going to be almost an hour late. And so we're sitting there, I said, Leah, and it's kind of like she knew we had figured her out. And I said, you know, I know your son's coming, but do you want to spend Christmas Eve with us? And she just kind of smiled. She said, that's okay, but thank you. Well, that changed everything. That one act of kindness changed everything. Because all of a sudden I realized this is a real person. And she was lonely, and she needed me. Maybe I needed her. And so I would visit her several times a month, and I would go over and see her, and Leah and I became very close friends. And I would sit there and sometimes would play the piano, or she would just tell me stories of her husband, Rod, who had died years earlier but always made her laugh. Oh, Rod, he made me laugh. And sometimes she'd say, I think Rod was in the house today. He hid my keys. And this went on for almost a year, and we became very close friends. One day I went up to her house, and she was really quiet. And I said, Leah, are you okay? She goes, I guess I'm just melancholy. I was just thinking of when I was a little girl. She said, something happened to me once. When I was a little girl, I used to play in the cemetery. And one day, my mom always got mad at us. She said, don't play in the cemetery. Well, we would do it anyway because it was next to our house and it was fun. So we'd play hide and seek in the cemetery because it was the best place to play. So one day, my sister and I were playing hide and seek, and it was snowing. And as we were playing, we suddenly heard a ghost. We heard this wailing, this horrible wailing. So we got together and we crept up behind a tombstone. We looked out, and there was a woman lying before an angel statue. And she was on her knees, clawing at the ground. And she was wailing. And we sat there for more than a half hour. She clawed at the ground, and then she went still and quiet and just lay there on her face. And the snow completely covered her. And then she stood up and she walked away. After she was gone, we ran over and we looked at what she was clawing at. And all it said was, our little angel. And the name of a girl that was 2 years old. She said, I went home that night and I told my mother. I knew she was going to get mad at me, but instead she just put her arms around me and held me. And then she said, you stay away from that woman. She's going through a hard time. Well, those who have read the Christmas box know exactly the impact that story had on me. It just floored me. It was so moving. And it was the piece, I had started writing the Christmas box, and it was the piece I was missing. And I went home and I put it in. Leah and I were good friends for several years. I actually got her in a studio to tell her story just a few months before she died. And it was, I was sad to lose her. She was a dear, dear friend. We went down one time, Leah and I wanted to see what the angel looked like. And we got there, we walked around the cemetery for about 45 minutes. She had both knees replaced and she had 2 canes, so she was very slow. And finally she stopped in front of a tombstone. She hit it with her cane. She said, it used to be here by Mr. Bean. And
Guess we're staying.